Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Techforce Podcast Show. I'm your host, Shivani, and today we're going to talk about finance. And to talk about finance, we have our guest with us today, Kaya. Hi, Kaya. How are you?
Hi Shivani, how are you?
I'm all right. How is everything going?
Everything going okay? Year 2023 has seemed to be pretty eventful year, as was
Yeah.
2022.
Yes.
But seems that there are quite a few major shifts in the financial industry. So looking forward to the year and looking forward to the chat today.
Yes. All right. So let me introduce the topic today. So the topic for today is how embedded finance is transforming the payment industry. Okay, first of all, Kaya, why don't you tell our audience about what do you do?
I work as the Chief Investment Officer at CreditLink.ai. So we are an embedded finance company, but we
Yeah.
do actually embedded lending. So our bread and butter of the business is technology infrastructure, and we help B2B platforms to become lenders. So effectively, we help them to add additional product to their platform, and we
Yes.
also give them the capital.
Okay, wonderful. So basically, embedded finance is like too big of a trend to ignore. Okay, so like
Mm.
tech, with the technology that is advancing, uh, can you explain in brief like how embedded finance is different from traditional finance?
Everybody knows what traditional finance is.
Yes.
It's your typical bank, it's your typical credit fund, it's maybe your the loan provider on the street. But
Yes.
embedded finance actually is integration of a financial product onto a non-financial customer journey. And
Correct.
actually, MFI, as we call it, it's nothing new. We have seen digital wallets for the last decade, 15 years at
Yes.
least. We have seen insurance products, for instance, at the checkout when you're buying your flight tickets. So
Right.
there are multiple different angles of embedded finance. And I think as this industry keeps developing, we're going to see more and interesting use cases for embedded finance.
Yes, so like it is easier, the financial services are getting very much easier to a regular non-finance person, right? Like how is embedded finance changing the way consumers and businesses both making payments?
So for me, embedded finance is really about customer centric user experience and approach. Traditional
Yes.
finance often leaves the customer service as the last step, as the last priority. I think we've all been to the bank taking this many documents with us going
Yes.
back and forth and then waiting months and months to get some sort
Yes.
of decision. But embedded
Yes.
finance is really about enhancing and having seamless user experience. And it's
Right.
also adding small bells and whistles. I would say, for instance, maybe adding some sort of cashback feature when it comes to payments, or maybe
Yeah.
adding some sort of loyalty program when you make payments. And in payments context, it's also the immediate settlement, knowing that the
Yes.
money has actually gotten to the right place. And from the business
Right.
perspective, what you improve is your cash conversion cycle and your working capital management.
Yes. Is it beneficial for small and medium? Like, I have seen so far that small and medium enterprises are using embedded finance. Like, there is a huge increase in the SMEs utilizing this particular approach. How
Mm.
can this help on a bigger level? How can this help on an economical level?
I think you hit the nail to the head, meaning that there is a massive section of the whole economy that's basically being left out from traditional finance, and it tends to
Yes.
be the small and medium-sized enterprises, or
Right.
SMEs as we call them. So SMEs often are a bit painful customers, meaning they don't have proper financial statements, they don't have audits. Maybe they don't have collateral. Maybe the sophistication of the management team isn't to the level that the banks want that to be, right? So when you ask
Yes.
difficult questions, they just don't know how to answer. I feel that embedded finance that's maybe integrated as part of their procurement process, or maybe onto the marketplace where they procure their inventories, makes life
Yes.
so much easier. It really
Yes.
helps with financial inclusion. And I think it gives fair access to everyone, be it payments, be it credit, be it insurance, be it banking as a service, whichever
Yeah.
element of MFI.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. And
Mm.
okay, so like, what are some of the industries like that are most impacted by embedded finance?
I would say the most obvious one, of course, is retail and e-commerce. We've all
Yes,
seen digital wallets. We see one-click payments. We see proliferation of buy now, pay later. For instance, here in Singapore, where I'm based, if I want to buy something, if I go to this local platform, there's at least 4 different BNPL providers these days. So it's
yes,
it's it's really become prevalent. But
yes,
also very critical industry that's being impacted and being disrupted is supply chain finance. So talking
yes,
about factoring, invoice financing,
yes,
leasing, also the
yes,
insurance, the digital wallets, and all the everything else sort of follows. I would say health, education, manufacturing. I don't
yes.
think there is an industry that's completely untouched by embedded finance.
Yes, yes, right. Like, okay, as more customers are like moving to like online shopping, retailers are like increasing how to give the customer seamless like payment experience.
Mm,
And like they are more the e-commerce industry as a large, even in India,
mm,
the majority sector that is like wildly affected by embedded finance is the online e-commerce platforms, right?
absolutely.
Yes. Okay. How is embedded finance driving innovation and competition within the payment industries?
So with embedded finance growing increasingly, you also see inflow of capital. The VC or venture capital funding coming to embedded finance was roughly
Yes.
about north of 3 billion in 2022. So clearly you have more institutional money coming in, which means you have more institutional investors guiding those portfolio companies, because effectively embedded finance is still driven by fintechs. It's
Yes.
very innovative segment of the market. So you see quite a bit of hand holding, I would say, by those VC firms who have done a lot of maturing of the fintech industry. So I think you're going to
Yeah.
see maturing of the industry. You're going to see more integration, meaning that the
Yes.
VCs are going to want their portfolio companies to work with each other. And this is something that we see. For instance, if our investors have invested in marketplaces, they naturally think, oh, how can one of my portfolio company benefit from embedded finance? Oh, I'm going to talk with this embedded lending company and we're going to put them two
Yeah.
together. So there's a lot of
Together.
integration happening within this sector as well.
Yes. Yeah. So talking about integrations, what role do APIs and like open banking play in embedded finance? Like how are they being used to improve the payment experience?
That's another great question, because APIs and open banking really are at the heart and at the center of embedded finance.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna draw a comparison again to embedded lending, because this is something that we do, right? So in order
Yes.
for us to provide lending, we need to consume alternative data. We don't
Yeah.
want to look at the financial statements. It's great that you have had 2021 financial statements audited. It's not going to help me with the lending decision today,
Yeah.
because we are already in February even
February.
2023. So we
Yes.
want to use alternative data. We want to see the platform data, the settlement data, the sales data, and all these platforms and marketplaces really have rich data sets of transactional data that show the
Yes.
most recent business activity. So if we can
Yes.
plug into those APIs, we can pull that data, we can consume that data using our data scientists. We can come better at making a lending decision. And open
Yes.
banking is pretty much the same, right? Because we can pull data from the banking platform.
Yes.
And Shivani, very interesting observation that we have seen within the SME market now, especially here in Asia. Often the companies that operate in the digital economy, as we call it, which was
Yes.
the secular trend, especially post-COVID, right? A lot of the
Yeah.
companies don't even have traditional bank accounts. They operate within the
Oh,
neobanks. So if you go to
right.
a bank and the bank is going to ask, can you show me your bank statement? They don't have that. But
That
what they
doesn't
have,
make,
they
yeah.
may have something the neobank provides.
Right. That is wonderful. I have read a lot of things about like this small businesses, just the people or two starting a company, and
Yeah.
they do not have anything with the traditional bank, and everything is on your bank.
Yeah,
That is
exactly. And
wonderful.
And we actually see more and more companies that haven't had any contact with traditional banking. Everything they do is done with fintechs, is done with neobanks, is done with embedded finance. Yes. So there are entrepreneurs who haven't even stepped into the bank.
Right. Okay. All right. So, like on the off topic, I would like to ask that how do you think the whole digital currency, which is like cryptocurrency, that plays like does it play any role in embedded finance or not?
I would say yes. Obviously,
All right.
this particular segment is going through consolidation.
Yeah.
Now that we have seen price of risk increasing, meaning that, interest rates are not zero anymore. You see a lot of collapse, consolidation, but that doesn't mean that the digital currencies are going to disappear. No, the strong ones and the more established ones are here to stay. And I would say they will play a critical role within the payment sector. Yes. And they will also play a critical role within the embedded lending sector. So I think at some point, the decentralized finance will maybe even overtake or at least offer traditional money instrument alternative.
Yes, like as you mentioned earlier, that a lot of companies they are also working specifically on cryptocurrency. They accept and they work the whole transactions are done in cryptocurrency itself, right?
Absolutely. So, and we actually work with a decentralized finance company here in Singapore. And what they do is they do financing using an altcoin effectively. So this is becoming increasingly popular. No idea what the trend is going to be in 5 to 10 years, but I think if we have the same conversation in 5 years, we're going to see a large portion of the industry already in digital currency.
Right. Okay. So like how are traditional institutions like financial institutions are adapting the rise of embedded finance? Like what are the challenges they are facing?
So I think when it comes to traditional institutions, it's basically survival of the fittest. Either you adapt or you die, like with everything else. I think financial institutions have tried to push back for a very long time. And I've worked for a global bank before, for 6 years of my career. So I've seen their reluctance and hesitancy towards innovation. But I think now it has come to a point that they realize we better form strategic partnerships. Yes. We better choose the best and the strongest, be it embedded finance or whichever technology company, and we better partner with them. And that offers a few things for the traditional financial institutions as well. Firstly, they get new sales and distribution channels. Yeah. They get to maybe diversify their revenue. So again, coming to the lending topic, often what the traditional banks do is that they provide the balance sheet for lending for the embedded lending. So that effectively, again, helps them to increase the client base, increase to their revenue. But of course, the risk there is that they will lose some of their market share for certain products. But we have also seen traditional institutions very actively lobbying in their favor. But in my view, Shivani, you really can't stop the innovation. It's going to happen anyway.
Yes. So Kaia, coming to this only, like the trend is setting in and people are moving towards the brighter future. What do you see as the future of embedded finance? Like, how do you think how do
Shivani,
you think
I lost you for a second.
Hello? Yeah, am I audible now? Hello? Am I audible? Yeah, hi.
I can hear you again. Perfect.
Yes. All right. Sorry, we'll start again.
Yes.
So, my question was like, what do you see as the future of embedded finance? How do you think it will continue to impact the payments landscape? What is the future for it?
So embedded finance is expected to reach roughly 230 billion within the next couple of years. Payments is the biggest component. It's about 140 billion, followed by insurance, about 70 billion. And then lending takes 16 billion, followed by wealth management, about 3 billion. So this is KPMG's estimates. Again, I think there will be a lot of maturing within the industry. We see a lot of capital coming into the industry. We see VCs putting more than 3 billion into this segment.
Yes.
I think there will be amalgamation, like we spoke. My internet seems to be okay. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. Now you can go ahead. Sorry, can you just repeat the last 2 to 3 statements? I think there was a pause.
I'll start with the whole question again, if that's easier to cut later.
Yes, right.
So embedded finance is expected to reach roughly about 230 billion in terms of size by 2025.
Yes.
The biggest component is payments, which is about 140 billion, followed by insurance, about 70 billion. Then lending is much smaller, 16 billion, followed by wealth management, about 3 billion. And this is KPMG's estimates. But what's going to happen in the industry is something we discussed before. We're going to see the industry becoming more mature. We see the VC funding coming in, which was about 3 billion in 2022. We're going to see amalgamation with decentralized finance, blockchain, non-fungible tokens, which are going to provide alternative to money instruments. And we all see, for instance, incubators being set up. And KPMG has set up actually an embedded finance incubator in Singapore, which tells you that this is not the muddy backwater of the fintech sector anymore. It's actually becoming the center of fintech.
Yes, perfect. So like in summary, I would like to conclude this on things like APIs and open bankings are like essential components of embedded finance. And as like they are being used to like improve the whole payment industry. They are being used to provide more convenience, more personalization to the end customers, right? And one last question I wanted to ask is how can businesses ensure that they are effectively integrating embedded finance solutions for like into their products or their services?
That's a great question. And I'm going to start by mentioning that we observe that the platforms or marketplaces are starting to realize themselves the need for embedded finance. This is becoming even more and more important in 2023 because we are observing financing winter, meaning these platform marketplaces are also fintechs. They also rely on VC market to raise capital. And it's not that easy to get money from VCs anymore. It's not about the growth anymore. It's actually about your cash flows. It's about your profitability. It's about your increased and diversified revenue. It's about your client retention. And the easiest way, at least in my very biased view, is to have an embedded finance solution on your platform. And when it comes to the businesses, of course, they need to start designing their technology in a way that it's API friendly and it can be integrated with other platforms. And absolutely critical part is ensuring your data integrity, your data completeness, your data safety. Because cybersecurity and data protection are paramount, and this topic is not going to go anywhere. And I would just say being ready to implement, having your tech teams on standby, because sometimes the sales process takes very, very long time. And by that, the industry has already changed. But I think what will change the sort of mindset is the pressure from the investors. Money talks, right? So when the VCs are saying you need to diversify, suddenly everybody wants to have embedded finance on their platform.
Right. Like until and unless you're making the end customer's journey easier, you have to go for it. Just make it easy for the end customer.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Kaia, for joining the show. I would like to end the podcast with some sort of a thing that you would like to share with our audience. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned that it should be some sort of quote or something, maybe positive, maybe not positive. So one of my favorite, and I call him a philosopher actually, is Bob Marley. Most people don't see him as a philosopher. They see him as a pothead. I completely disagree. And I think the best thing he has said is that some people feel the rain, others just get wet. And you can apply
Right.
that on a weather condition, but you can also apply that on a difficult and challenging condition in life.
Challenging question. Oh, that is beautiful. That is really a beautiful way to end the podcast.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
having me.
Thank you so much, Kaya, for joining on the show. It was wonderful to have you. Thank you for sharing all the insights, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.